Hello! Welcome back to the channel and to another episode of Alt Archive, a series where I cover your favorite goth/alternative brands, their history, and their ethics. But this is the special 2026 update version where we're not covering anyone new, but we're going back in time and covering some old brands and seeing how they're doing currently. We'll be talking about 7 brands that I've covered previously to see if they're killing it, haven't changed, or killing their business. So let's just dive right in. Starting off on a positive note, we have the brands that are killing it. First up is Koi Footwear. If you watched my last video on them, I very briefly touched on them possibly using AI photos for their blog posts. I can now say with certainty that they no longer do that, at least from what I could see, and those blog posts seem to have been removed. It's a small thing, but I'm happy for the change. Since talking about them in June of 2024, they grew pretty substantially on social media, going from just shy of 360k to just shy of 380k. on Instagram. They were always well known for their collabs, but have since added a Twilight collab, Hatsune Miku collab, and a Ghost collab, like the band Ghost. Crazy. Koi also still stands by their ethics that I had mentioned in the previous video, and they currently even have a statement on modern slavery. According to the statement, it seems like there is a law in the UK for a brand to state that they are 100% cruelty-free and that their labor and manufacturers are ethical. Basically having to state annually that their business doesn't have any human trafficking, slavery, or forced labor. Now, while I think Koi is killing it, we have to address that a lot of the bad customer service reviews that I mentioned in my last video are still very much present. They still have a 4.1 on Trustpilot, which you will come to find out is a lot better than a lot of brands I cover on this platform, but it seems like the major concerns are still there. Overall lack of customer service for refunds and returns, and the products not being good quality. But I also couldn't find much about their quality currently because everything was back in 2024 when they had the Melanie Martinez collab that went pretty bad. So I think that the fact that I can't really find anything now says a lot, and I truly think they're doing well for themselves. Now, this next brand, I debated putting on the hasn't changed list, but they were relatively new when I talked about them originally. And I think since then they've really made a name for themselves. So next on the killing it list is Midnight Hour. I covered them back in July of 2024. At the time, they had only been supplying clothes to the general public since 2022. Since then, they've grown from 130k on Instagram to over 240k, which I think is amazing growth in under 2 years. They also went from having a 4.1 on Trustpilot with 28 reviews to having a 4.8 on Trustpilot with over 500 reviews. On my original video, I found a website called judge.me where they had a lot more in-depth reviews on Midnight Hour, and that has stayed relatively the same, going from a 4.8 to a 4.79, but with about 1,000 more reviews. Honestly, it warms my heart to see brands still doing good, because we don't see a lot of that, unfortunately. Midnight Hour also has a new app, which according to them, gets you exclusive deals and early access to new launches and collabs. It seems like they started this sometime in 2025, but it's unclear exactly when. And their pricing seems to be pretty similar from the last time I talked about them. I'm just really pleased with how well this company is doing. I like them a lot. But onto the last brand that's killing it, we have Foxblood. I talked about this brand way back in August of 2022 when they were really everywhere for me on social media. Going through their website, their ethics and manufacturing claims still seem to be the same, and they even have a video of them physically producing their products in LA that was uploaded in November of 2022. They've grown from less than 200k followers on Instagram to 270k. When I say they were everywhere on social media for me back then, they still are now. They go live literally every day on TikTok, showing off new releases, as well as having flash sales and giveaways. So that's really nice to see a brand really communicate with their audience in that way. They also seem to be branching out in products. Footwear and bags are something I don't remember seeing from them last time. I did mention about their Foxblood signature line, and while they don't have the separate section anymore on their website, it will tell you if it's a Foxblood signature piece in the description of the individual product. Some products state that they're designed in LA, but made by their trusted partner factory in China, while other listings will say that they are designed and made in LA. The price point is still expensive to me, but I do like almost knowing exactly where my piece of clothing is coming from. For some reason though, they only have a 2.8 on Trustpilot, but there are only 58 reviews, so do with that what you will. A lot of them are about poor quality products and non-existent customer service, but like Midnight Hour, they do also have an app that just recently came out in October of 2025. They say this allows for a more easier shopping experience and allows you to create multiple wish lists. It also says that they do in-app exclusives, but I'm not entirely sure what that means. Overall, I do think Foxblood is continuing to grow and really making a household name for themselves in old fashion. We talked about the good, now let's talk about the bad. The really bad. The one and only brand on my killing their business list, Rogan Wolf. This was the only brand I ever made 2 videos about because they just decided to plummet their business into the ground. I talked at length in these videos about their heavy use of AI for their website and social media. Now in 2026, they're allegedly using AI to make their designs, which is arguably 20 times worse than just using AI models. This is all alleged though, I could not find definitive proof, but it's what a lot of people online are speculating. They've surprisingly maintained their star status on Trustpilot, going from a 4.3 to a 4.4. I honestly just think it's either people who have no idea or they just don't care. Their Trustpilot has only grown by 80 reviews since I last talked about them in February 2024, and compared to the growth of some other brands, I say this is very minimal. Speaking of growth, or should I say decline at this point, they went from having over 580,000 followers on Instagram to just a little over 550,000 followers. That is so sad, but honestly good for people for not supporting it. I mentioned in my last video that their engagement has went down the toilet and it's even worse. They're lucky to get 10 likes a post and they never get any comments. Probably because they heavily monitor them because all the comments are just about how they use AI so excessively. Safe to say, they're kind of dead. But on to lighter news, let's move on to the last category, hasn't changed. And this can be good or bad. Bad news first, as always. Let's talk about Black Milk Clothing. When I covered them back in April 2024, it was widely accepted that they used to be this amazing brand, and then it just sort of dropped off at some point. Their clothing pieces stopped being worth the price, and were just generally low quality. They went slightly up in reviews on Trustpilot, going from a 2.7 to a 2.9, probably the worst on this list, but the popular opinion remains the same. The quality just isn't there. And mind you, a lot of these reviews are from devoted fans of Black Milk Clothing that have been buying them for years. I will say Black Milk has popped up quite a bit on my social media as of late because not only are they doing a Fallout collaboration, but they're also doing a collab for Wuthering Heights, the new movie that's coming out. And while I'm sure these are helping, and I think as a business they're probably doing perfectly fine, they're just definitely not in their prime anymore. And I don't even think they were when I recorded my video on them. But to end my video on a positive note, here are the last 2 brands that thankfully haven't changed and I think are doing really well for themselves. First we have Black Moon Cosmetics. They were the first makeup brand I covered on Alt Archives. They are still at over 500,000 on Instagram, and their most popular product, Sleepwalker, which is their black liquid lip, is still their highest rated product on their site with a 4.8 star and almost 300 reviews. They are almost always coming out with new stuff like these moon liners, which are very pretty lip liners, and the biggest news for them is that they opened a brick and mortar store in November of 2025 in Burbank, California. So congrats to them. That's so amazing. I really wish I could come visit. It looks gorgeous. And last but certainly not least, let's catch up with Restyle in the new scary world of AI. I was honestly worried that a lot of these models were AI. I'm apparently traumatized by Rogan Wolf. Thanks. But I'm happy to report that they are not. And they do a great job of tagging all of their models in their social media posts. Unlike someone. We love to see it. It also looks like they keep pumping out new stuff. These bags, oh my god. This entire collection, absolutely gorgeous. They've gained over 100,000 followers on Instagram since I last covered them in February of 2024. They have unfortunately gone down to a 4.6 on Trustpilot, with the newer reviews being about poor quality products and taking forever to hear back from customer service on refunds and returns. This unfortunately seems to be a common theme with most brands, and was honestly the reason I titled their video what I did, which was fast fashion or worth the price. And you would think after covering alt businesses for a while now, it would be obvious whether they're fast fashion or worth the price, but I've never seen a consumer base so split on if this brand makes good clothing or not. Restyle, you either love it or hate it apparently. But I feel like regardless, this brand is going pretty strong no matter what, which is honestly amazing considering they're one of the oldest brands on this list and they've been around for 18 years. And those are all my updates on some of the brands I've covered in the last couple years. Let me know down below how you feel about these brands. Did you agree or disagree on what categories I put certain brands in? I want to know how you guys feel. But yeah, as always, you guys know I love making these types of videos. I plan to cover a ton more brands this year for alt archives. And if I haven't done a brand that you really want to see, leave it down below. Who knows, I might not even have heard of them before. But that's it for me. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I post new videos out every week, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!